Hello guys, how is it going? It's Vandiril here, and today I have something really interesting to show you guys. So today I'm gonna try to show you how you can possibly get a permanent Shaco or Leblanc clone. So before I get into Shaco and Leblanc clone details, let me go back in time a little bit. So back in time, before Yorick was reworked, he also had his ultimate that allowed him to make a clone of his, which was his ghost. So the Yorick clone acts the same as the Shaco clone and the Leblanc clone. So basically, the way clone dies is that it takes 9999 damage, and it is a true damage. So if you somehow manage to get 10,000 HP on your clone, the clone wouldn't die because it would only take 9999 damage. But since the Yorick was reworked, we can only do that with the Shaco and Leblanc, but the mechanic is pretty much the same. So the goal for both of them is to get 10,000 HP, and back in the time it wasn't really possible to get 10,000 HP, but recently Riot released a new item, a Gargoyle Stoneplate. You've seen me making a lot of videos with this item, and here is yet another one. So basically what you need to do is you need to have like 5,000 HP, maybe slightly more, for both Leblanc and Shacos. So once you get that 500 HP, maybe 5500 HP, something like that, Lulu ult is also pretty helpful here. So once you get that number, you can get either Shaco clone or Leblanc's clone. So let's get right into the first try, which is Shaco clone. At first, let me show you how it works in the practice tool. It's gonna be really simple to present you guys. So what you need to do is you need roughly around 5500 HP. And at this point you need to get between 3 enemies. After you get between 3 enemies, you activate your Gargoyle Stoneplate, and once you have like 1200 HP, you use your ult and then you create your clone. And right now it's really important for you to protect the clone, so don't let the clone get below 10,000 HP. It's really good if you can do it, like for example in the fountain, so the clone can heal up. So after 18 seconds, the clone won't die. If it has over 10,000 HP, as I said, it will only take 9999 damage, and therefore the clone will survive. So at this point you will have a clone, but it's not really easy to steer the clone, because you cannot steer this clone like a normal clone. So what you need to do is use your right click on a target you want to attack, and basically the clone will do that for you. So you don't steer it with Alt or R, you use your right click, and basically once you manage to click once on the enemy, then your clone will follow. Even if you then change the direction you move as a main Shaco, then the clone will still go to the target you've chosen before. So that's how it works. So this way theoretically you can get a permanent Shaco clone, but if you get into team fights or anything, then obviously it's gonna die. If you wanna try it in normal game, like I did here, you can see it right now. So the build I would recommend for Shaco would be probably going with the Cinder Hulk in the jungle. And here you can see I got some Warmugs, but you can probably get something like Sterax, Warmugs, Frozen Mallet, and maybe another Warmug, and then you would probably have as much HP as you want. And if you don't want to get all these items, you can probably replace one Warmugs with like Lulu ult, because Lulu ult can give you extra like 500, 800 HP. So that's one of the ways to go for the Shaco ult. Keep in mind, some of you may be wondering right now, is it possible to get 2 Shaco clones? Because if you have one Shaco clone that's not dying, then maybe you can have another Shaco clone that will basically allow you to have 2 Shaco clones. But sadly, when you have the permanent clone, let's say, version of it, and then you use your ultimate again, then the permanent clone will just die. So if you get the clone this way, then make sure not to actually use your ult again, because the next clone will only last 18 seconds. So this way technically it is possible for you to get a permanent clone that will survive forever, but of course if you engage in any teamfights then it won't be forever, but on paper theoretically it is possible to do that. Maybe if you also, like, imagine if you go in a team fight and your clone loses some HP, then you can just fall back with the clone to the base, heal up, and then you will basically have a healthy clone again. If you are split pushing, then you can use the clone to tank some turret shots for you, and then when it's hit, you can go back to base, recall, and he is healthy again. So that's how it goes for Shaco. So as I said, I don't necessarily think it's a it's a bug or something, maybe it's a tiny glitch or something that shouldn't be in the game. But since this thing has been here for so long, I even made a video about like Shaco clone that's permanent like year ago or 2 years ago, and nothing really happened. So it's not really a big deal because the build you need for this is highly suboptimal for both Shaco and Leblanc, but it's just something you can possibly try if you want. So let me get to the Leblanc case right now, which is also pretty tricky. So when you go Leblanc, I would recommend trying to go mid lane, and if you go full tank, then you are probably gonna lack a lot of things. So there are basically two ways to build as a Leblanc in the mid lane. One is with smite and the other one is without the smite. So if you go with the smite, then you are able to get the Cinderhulk that will also increase your bonus health. And if you are without the smite, then you can take some other summoner, but you won't be able to get Cinderhulk, so you will basically need to get like 2 Warmugs. So either way, what you can do is you go mid lane, your first item will be probably Rod of Ages, it's gonna give you 500 health, so it's pretty fine. What you can get next is Cinderhulk, Warmugs, and the Gargoyle Stoneplate. Of course, I forgot to say that earlier, but of course when you play Shaco you also need get Gargoyle Stoneplate. It's an essential item to make this work, so without it it's not gonna work. So what you need is Gargoyle Stoneplate, Rod of Ages, Warmugs, Cinderhulk, possibly some extra HP at this point, because you don't really need that much as in Shaco case. And if you have Lulu like I had here, then yeah, you don't have to get that extra item, but if you don't, you probably want to get like another Frozen Mallet or Warmugs or whatever. So once you get those items, you engage in the team fight pretty much same way. So you ask for Lulu to ult you if you have her, then you go between 3 enemies, which is pretty much easy in both Shaco and Leblanc case, as they have some ways to get into the team fight. I think it's easier for Leblanc, as you can just peel back earlier by going back to your W, but it's also not that hard in Shaco case. So what you need to do is go between 3 enemies, you have your Lulu ult, then you go with the W in, then you use your Gargoyle Stoneplate, and then you activate your ult. And here is a tricky part. So there are 2 things you can do. So first thing you can do is use your clone and use the ability with the clone. So this is what I did here. So basically I went in, I used my Gargoyle Stoneplate, and then I used my W again. So you can see my Leblanc clone being here, and you can see actually it has like over 10,000 HP, and then it takes 9,999 HP, but it survives that. So basically right now you have clone. So there is really one weird inconsistent thing. So when I did that in practice tool, I was able to control the clone. I was able to move it, I was able to attack some jungle monster, etc, etc. But when I tried that in a normal game, then for whatever reason, I wasn't able to control the clone at all. I tried the same techniques, I tried to move far away from it, but it didn't work. So I'm not really sure how to make the clone move in a normal game. Maybe I should have moved slightly further, but I think I was far enough from it to be able to teleport to me. So maybe it's just in a normal game that you cannot really teleport that. You can see right now it can block minions for you, it can even attack. It can even apply on-hit effects as far as I know, and you can deal some damage with auto attacks. And actually, once you get into the replay, like I'm gonna show you now, you can actually see it's healing and it's losing HP. So basically it's a living unit, but you can see how it looks. It's pretty weird, but enemies somehow manage to target that. So if enemies kill that, then it's gone. But if they don't, then you can have your clone, but it's not really that useful because you cannot really control it. So it's more likely gonna surprise your enemies that actually manage to do anything incredible for you. So it's pretty funny to see that a Leblanc clone can actually like tank an entire wave of minions despite not really being there. It's basically a shadow of it being here, but it still like aggroes the minions, it still heals, it still takes damage. So again, it is theoretically possible for you to have a permanent clone, but if it's gonna be attacked, then of course it's gonna go down. So it is possible to have permanent clones, but it's up to you to decide how it ends up being. So you can have a permanent clone, it can die, whatever. It's not really a viable option. So yeah. And the second option for the Leblanc is her other part of the ult. So as you know, when you play Leblanc right now, you can use your ult anywhere on the map and your ult will appear there. As far as I know, maybe I am mistaken, I couldn't really find the exact data for that. This clone lasts like 8 seconds and then dies no matter what. But when I did it with this way, the clone actually managed to like walk half of the map, as you can see right now. Maybe it's actually the way it should be, but when I tested that in practice tool, it only lived for like few seconds. So I'm just suspecting that it should die earlier, but it doesn't because it has too much HP, similar to the first case of the Leblanc clone. So as you can see, those things aren't necessarily viable, but it's pretty funny to see that you can actually get permanent clones just because someone at Riot forget to tweak the numbers and make the clone take more damage or anything like that, so those things don't happen. Like, I don't think that would be that hard to change the damage that clone takes from 9999 damage to something else, and maybe because of my video they will actually do that, but time will tell, we will see. So let me just sum this up real quick. What you need is a Gargoyle Stone Plate. What you need is a lot of health, somewhere between 5 and 6k. You need to get between enemies, you need to activate your Stone Plate, and then you need to use your ultimate on Shaco or Leblanc, and then you will have your clone. So after a few seconds, when the ultimate ability ends, if your clone is below 10,000 HP, it's gonna die, but if it's 10,000 HP or higher, and the clone is gonna survive, and you will be able to have a theoretically permanent clone. So yeah, that's pretty much the way it goes. Sorry for a pretty long video, but I wanted to really explain that as well as I could, so we can get the insight why this thing happens. And yeah, that would be pretty much it. So thank you guys a lot for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then maybe like it, or if you didn't, then just dislike it. If you haven't subscribed to me yet, then maybe consider doing that. So yeah, thank you once more for watching, guys. Take care and have a great day.